Hello, welcome to the Salisbury Cathedral reflection for today, the 22nd of September. I'm Robert Titley, the Canon Treasurer, and I apologise that I'm coming to you in portrait format today. My phone has decided to prevent me from going landscape, but I hope to put that right before I'm next with you. Now, depending on when or perhaps where you're viewing this, you may or may not by now have heard the British Prime Minister's broadcast to the nation on the evening of Tuesday the 22nd. Though we do know now, by the moment I'm broadcasting this to you now, what was the content of his announcement to the House of Commons today about the extra measures that are going to be put in place because of the rising number of COVID-19 infections in the UK. Alas, a trend that's mirrored in other countries in Europe as well, to say nothing of further afield. Well, how do you see it? The best image I have of our nation, to an extent our continent and our world, is of a ship making its way in fog, trying to navigate between, on the one hand, the reef of lost lives, and on the other hand, the rocks of damaged livelihoods, remembering always that damage to livelihoods in turn endangers lives. Now, the Prime Minister's announcement today follows on from a presentation by two of the government's most senior scientists yesterday. And following the science has been something of a constantly repeated phrase from the government as they've tried to shape policy to help us to contain and to control the virus. But it's now clear that following the science means following a conversation in which there's more than one view. A BBC News programme last night about the coronavirus included the word ridiculous issued by one interviewee to another. But this was not an opposition member of parliament tearing into the government. It was an immunologist criticising the view of an epidemiologist. So what do you do when experts don't agree? It's natural to be drawn to the point, to the view of the expert that most fits with your view, that fits best with the picture of how this is going to play out, that suits you best. It all comes down to the way that we view the current crisis that we're in. Our reaction, for instance, to these latest new measures will be partly shaped by our own prejudices and our instincts. Let me mention just one instinct in terms of a spectrum between self and society. And you'll place yourself, I'll place myself, each at a slightly different position on that spectrum. Which of the two do you find yourself leaning more towards? Is it the rights, the liberties, the choice of the individual, or is it the benefit of society as a whole? That tension between self and society is always there, always in our shared life. But it's here in an acute sense now, as our government, in keeping with others, has taken on powers that are rare indeed outside times of war. Now, someone who's helped me in this is a man called Paul Vallely, indeed Professor Paul Vallely, not a scientific expert, but a theologian and a philosopher. He is an expert on Catholic social teaching, and you'll often find him being quoted or speaking as one of the leading Roman Catholic commentators on the issues of the day. Catholic social teaching is something that is shaping our life in the church to quite a degree. It's a body of teaching to which my Archbishop, the Archbishop of Canterbury, often refers. Now, Catholic social teaching is not a quick way of squaring any of the circles that are part of our difficulties at the moment. It's not going to solve once and for all the question of self and society, but it does give us helpful language in which you and I might be able to navigate our own course, as we each will have to do in the choices that we make in the coming 6 months, which is the period for which, according to the Prime Minister, the present restrictions might well be with us. 2 basic principles to Catholic social teaching. The first, human dignity, the conviction that no human being can be regarded simply as a means to an end, however wide the benefit of that end, however good the end in itself. So first, human dignity. And second, what Catholic social teaching calls the common good. And there's a link to thinking about the common good in the blurb underneath this video. Notice it's the common good, not the public good or the good of society. Those things are really quite abstract, but the common good, something which is very personal, something which is held in common, something which you, I, we might together agree and acknowledge as good. Well, that's easily said. It is hard to do. And in the decisions that we have to make as a society, that the government has to make on our behalf, well, smart thinking can get us a long way. But in the end, there is something more than that that's needed to liberate me from my own bias, my own perhaps rather limited and self-centered instincts. So smart thinking, if those of us who can find some of that in ourselves, but more than that, the possibility of change and conversion, the possibility of surprise. And that's a matter not of smart thought, but of prayer, about each day holding ourselves in the presence of God, the one who above all knows the true significance of self and the true significance of society, the one who, as Jesus teaches us, will judge the nations of the earth, and the one who numbers every hair on each of our heads. Join me, if you would like to now, in praying, holding ourselves quietly before God and praying in the words that Jesus himself gave us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, for ever and ever. Amen. Thank you for watching and for listening, and may God be with you, now and in the days ahead.